Hello, my name is Nicole, and I'm at the KSU Model UN Convention 2012, and I'm here with Christy Azarov.
Hello.
And she is a member of the Backyard Academy. Can you tell us what is the Backyard Academy?
Yeah, actually, I work for Not for Sale, which is an abolitionist campaign that fights human trafficking and slavery. But we do have a big event in April, on the 19th through the 21st here in Kennesaw, actually. That's called the Backyard Academy. What that is, it's a 3-day event where students, community leaders, legislators, business leaders, anyone interested will come and learn some hands-on techniques for fighting human trafficking and slavery, whether they want to do it here in Georgia or on a much larger scale. And so they actually learn applicable techniques to go about doing this.
What was your impetus for joining this movement?
Well, it kind of started when my brother told me, my brother's a police officer for Cherokee County, and he was involved in a raid of a Mexican restaurant up in Woodstock with the GBI and the FBI, where they stumbled upon about 12 slaves in the back. And it just kind of made me realize that it's not really just in faraway places, it's here in our own backyard. It's the Backyard Academy. And it just kind of opened my eyes. And around the same time, Not for Sale, the organization, came here and spoke at Kennesaw. And I think it just really spoke to me. It was more than just a coincidence that happened at the same time. And so I kind of decided to get involved, and here I am.
How do you stop slavery?
That's kind of tricky. A lot of it has to do with getting states and countries involved in changing their legislation to allow for harsher prosecutions for the pimps and the johns and the traffickers, to better programs to rehabilitate victims, and more awareness campaigns to allow victims the knowledge that they are actually victims and they can come forward without being prosecuted, and they won't be deported if they're here in the United States as a trafficked victim. They actually do have rights in the United States, and so, yeah.
In your opinion, what's the worst part of slavery?
When I hear about the infants, the 1-year-olds, the 2-year-olds that are purchased for sex by men, it's the most evil of the evil.
What type of human trafficking generally occurs in Georgia?
In Georgia, Georgia's kind of home to a myriad of different human trafficking. We don't have so much of like skin trafficking where, people steal other people's skin for voodoo practices around the world. You don't really see a lot of the organ trafficking here, which is prevalent in like Eastern Europe or Latin America. What we have here, Atlanta is the hub for human trafficking in the United States. It's one of the 14 busiest cities as far as traffic, I guess you could say. But Atlanta has the busiest airport in the world, so we have a lot of people coming internationally through our airport. It's a big commuter city, lots of empty warehouses. So there is it is a destination point for people, for traffickers bringing victims in, and then they tend to disperse throughout the rest of the United States or go on to another country. But Georgia is also unique in the fact that a lot of victims that are exploited in Georgia do come from Georgia. We have a lot of, you have your runaways in every state, but here we've found that 90% of runaways fall into the sex slave trade, and 50 of those within the first 48 hours they get hooked up with the pimp. They need something to eat, they need a place to stay. The pimp comes along and says, I've got a place for you, and kind of pulls them in and psychologically brainwashes them and say, hey, I need you to do this one thing for me. And then all of a sudden it turns into that person owning the victim. Now Georgia has some really unique statistics. 1 in every 4 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys in Georgia is sexually molested or exploited by the time they're 18. So a lot of the kids who were sexually molested at home are more prone to become victims of human trafficking, studies have shown. 50% of the trafficking in Georgia happens in DeKalb and Fulton County alone. and the other 50 happens throughout the rest of the state. So what we see, we have a big problem with, you know, a lot of people in Georgia being exploited in Georgia. They typically come from single parent households, lower income families where the parents are always working, not always home to make sure the kids are doing what they need to be doing or living, you know, healthier lives. And I mean, another shocking statistic, 7,200 men a month pay to have sex with a child in Georgia alone.
What do you learn at the Backyard Academy?
Well, the Backyard Academy offers 4 different courses. The first day is kind of like an orientation, a gathering, so everyone can meet each other. The second 2 days focus on, or you pick 2 of the 4 tracks, and the first day you focus on one track, and the second day you focus on another. The 4 tracks are strategic investigation. They give you hands-on experience or hands-on tactics to where you can actually investigate the illicit activities that are going on and report them to the proper authorities. You know, who to go to, how to go about it, what agencies and non-governmental organizations to report to. The second track is just market supply chains. Basically, you learn to investigate different companies, electronics companies, chocolate companies, clothing companies, and see how their production line is and how clean it is from slavery, from the raw materials, cotton in the fields, the diamonds in the mines, the cocoa beans, the coffee beans, and how it eventually gets to the final destination, like a Starbucks or Gap or, you know, anything. There's an application you could download on your phone called Free to Work, and basically it comes with a barcode scanner, and you could go to any store and scan anything, and it'll give that product a grade of A, B, C, D, and F, and it'll explain, you know, how clean their production line is and if there's slavery involved. And it does bring awareness to the companies themselves. A lot of them don't know that their production line is soiled like that, so it encourages companies to actually change their practices. The third track is innovative aftercare. Basically, it teaches people, if they want to have more hands-on experience with the victims of human trafficking, it gives them innovative ways to take care of them, you know, to help them get their lives back, to help them recover, to give them new memories, because they've been living with such horrible memories, you know, 12-year-olds forced to have sex with 30 men a day. And so it gives them a chance to have some kind of semblance, to have some normality back in their lives. And then the fourth track is proactive faith communities. We want people from all faiths, from all ethnicities, from all backgrounds to come to this academy and learn how to use their faith to rehabilitate victims, to go preach to victims on the street. A lot of victims do have a certain faith, one faith or another, and they need that connection to be able to, you know, that connection helps them get back their lives, to know that they're not alone in the world, to know that they're, you know, there are other people out there that are having the same issues.
Who is usually targeted in slavery?
Well, globally, men, women, children, everyone. Nobody is immune. No part of the world is immune. This affects every country in the world. But statistically speaking, most of the victims, 80% of the victims are women and children. The children that are exploited in the sex slave trade usually end up being introduced between 12 and 14 years old. But like I said, it goes as young as infants.
Terrifying. Thank you.
Sure, of course, absolutely.